Hello, sorry. OBS crashed. It wasn't the internet this time, it was just OBS being OBS. Hello, hello. Does that not have... What do you mean there's no fucking normals? Get in there, you shitlord. Not all this. Good morning from Canada. Good morning from Australia. Yeah, don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. How do I want to do this? Why is that not just add saturate? Shouldn't that saturate it if it's negative? Yo, Nautilus, thank you very much for the gifty. And congrats, Monkey. Well done, well done. You won the game. You've won the game. And another one. Ninja Puss. Congrats. Congrats, congrats. And thank you very much again for the second gift sub. Smashing it. Elcano, good morning from Venezuela. I just want to say thanks for making the materials here. It's helped me a lot learn Unreal Engine. And I've been working for a long time now. Gaming changed my life. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much. Super appreciated. What's something you've done in the past to understand data structures in UE5? Preparing to build robust dialogue systems, but I'm not versed enough in my understanding to do so confidently. I would, to begin with, do it. Do it. Just do it. Yeah, just like try doing it because, you know, it's probably going to suck the first time. And it's best to just like deal with that. So yeah, don't be afraid to prototype and test something out before really committing to it. Most things that you do in game dev, even when you are like, you know, experienced, is you do everything twice. You do it, the initial implementation, then you realize that it's lacking, and then you redo it. Or you implement something, then you start implementing other things that rely on or connect to that, and then you realize, oh, I need to, you know, add this thing, or it needs to work like this, or I need to refactor it in some way. So the first advice I'd give is to just do something that works for you. Only twice? Yeah, like 10 times. Also, Mort, hello, hello. Have a good work. Thanks for the lurk. Yeah, so you'll do everything twice, and then I would say that objects are your friend and data assets are your friend. But a lot of data structure stuff, it really depends on the specific criteria of what you're doing, you know? Like, if a dialogue system, you know, let's say it's like a dialogue system for a dating simulator, and it's pretty much just like, you know, there's like a set number of responses, and then they have, you know, a set number of options, then they respond, and then you get more options, and then they respond, kind of thing. Maybe with a little bit of, like, context options thrown in there, like, oh, you have the magic sword, therefore you've unlocked this extra option that, you know, would check, before we present these options, does the player have this thing? Therefore, they can, you know, show them this option as well. But yeah, versus something like, you know, in my game, you'll be able to just ask an NPC anything, or, you know, from a very, almost like a procedural list, I guess, like, can you tell me where the insert occupation, insert some context is in insert, you know, this town or the next city or, you know, this whole fucking place? Or can you tell me where a person that looks like this is, and then they will generate a response using a bunch of data and shit and whatnot. So that's like a different kind of dialogue system with different needs and different, you know, outcomes and whatnot. But yeah, I guess it really depends. But you could look at... There are some plugins, like, you know, plugins on the marketplace that, you know, they use, like, a tree. And you link all the tree together, and you can put conditions in there, and you, like, build a dialogue tree. That's, like, a pretty good way of, you know, visualizing it. The other thing you could do is you could just build dialogue trees directly in Blueprint. So, like, you could just be like, Blueprint class, whatever. You'd make some dialogue tree class. And you would essentially... So it would all get compiled into some thingo, but you would have a function called custom event build, or, you know, compute tree or something. Or, you know, enter tree, and you could call that as an editor function, and it would fill out all the shit for it. You'd have to decide on some structure, but actually putting it together, you could... I guess you can't really see text nicely. I'm just trying to think a nice way to, like, visualize a tree with responses and whatnot, but I don't know. You could do, like, yeah, an event, and then a switch, you know, switch on some fucking integer or whatever for all your responses, and do them, and then you could just run the function, which would just, like, link them all in, like, some array of linked integers or some shit. Like ID. It would link all the IDs. But I don't know. Yeah. Sounds complicated. Yeah, go for a Mort. I'll chuck it in the... I'll repost it to the YouTube chat. But yeah, there are some plugins that make it super simple. For like your kind of typical dialogue system where, you know, you enter a conversation and then you know, your character says something or the other person respond and they say something with some conditions or like some, you know, skill checks, like, oh, do you have, or like roll charisma or some shit. Like your typical Bethesda, you know, dialogue RNG that you just save scum to get the best outcome every time. So like, why do they even bother? Hell yeah, hell yeah. Let me chuck that in the YouTube chat. There we go. There's a recommended video from the man himself. I guess the benefit of this is that, yeah, you are building it from the ground up. That's another thing that I always recommend to people is just try and build something from the ground up, because it'll usually... Let's say it's like an ability system, and you're like, should I build my own ability system or use the gameplay ability system that's already there and shit? You, like, 99% of the time, it will take you just as long to build your own system that has your, you know, tailors to your own needs and that you will end up knowing inside and out. It takes the same time to build that than it does to learn to use gameplay ability system. And you might not even really know how gameplay ability system works under the hood. You just know how to use it. And that's not really a very transferable skill. So it's usually always better to build your own version of a system. Even if you use it as reference, you know, the other system, it's still good to just build it from scratch. You might not get like the same, or like you might end up with the same outcome or a lesser outcome, but at least you've developed yourself, not just the game. And I think that's a very important thing to always strive for, is to just remember that as well as developing a game, we are also developing ourselves. That's deep as fuck, isn't it? How deep is that? Well, what does DDX DDY do with... Oh, no, I guess that's a post-process depth of field. Miyagi. Right, what is this thumbnail? What am I even doing with anything? This looks stupid. That's all I know, is that this looks dumb. It's very unaesthetic. And frankly, I hate it. How can we represent height map, normal map, nicely? For this damn video thumbnail, damn ass, damn video ass, thumbnail ass. Imagine having a 2000mm camera sensor. That's pog. Games be wild. Oh god, I can't even fucking... Can I unsqueeze? I can, but let's... Yeah. One being hyped from the other actually showing proper normals? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing, but also not. See you, Mort. Have a good one. Have a good one. Oh no, you're off. You're off work. I thought you said you're off to work. Congrats, congrats. Well done. You've escaped the hamster wheel. Maybe if this wasn't black and white, maybe if it was like colors or something. What are you doing? What's a new idea? Don't understand the stream. Can you explain it in simple UE peasant vocabulary? So right now I'm just making a thumbnail for a YouTube video. Which is kind of boring. But what we were doing before I had to do this was we were... I can lerp between... Well, no, because that's not even there anymore. It's just this, yeah. Before that, I was doing a new system where we simulate the climate and a bunch of other data for a given world, and then reflect that data in render targets so that they can be used in shaders as well as accessed on the CPU. So a good example might be we have a snowfall or snow accumulation data layer, which relies on the... So data accumulation, you know, it will, on update, get the current snowfall value and add to itself, and then get the temperature, and then it will melt itself, and depending on how much it melted, it will add to the, you know, the ground wetness or something. So that's the kind of like simulation, you know, multiple layers interacting with each other. And it's essentially that in a big-ass grid across the world. And then each of those simulation things gets written to a render target, which can then be, you know, read in the shaders. So, for example, snow builds up. Our shader, our landscape shader, our props and stuff accumulate, you know, snow. Just driven by a simple texture, which is like giga cheap. But then for the actual character, for our actual player character or characters in the world, whenever they take a footstep, we can just check, oh, get the snow coverage in this area, and then we know what particles, you know, we know to use the snow particles, we know to slow the character down, and all that kind of stuff. We know that if the temperature is below some value, we make the character, you know, steamy breath. Not cold enough in here. So that's kind of the idea. This work with sand accumulation in desert climates? Yes. Yeah, you could do like... You could do a sand layer. You'd have the wind, and then you could blow the sand around. And then you could also, you know, have that sand decay over time, the sand coverage. So yeah, I mean, that's a great example. And then you could take it one step further and let's say there's like a drought or something. And so all of the grass dies off and turns into sand. And then you could start, because the sandiness goes up, then you can start, blowing sand around from this newly drought-stricken area or whatnot. Or you could just, like, explode the sun, and then the sun goes out, and so the temperatures all drop, and so everything starts freezing up, and all of the lakes freeze over, all that kind of bullshit stuff. Or just, like, simulating seasons is probably a much more simpler use case of it. But in, like, a localized way. Because, obviously, winter in the desert is a lot different to winter in a temperate region and whatnot. So, the aim is that you just build a world, or it could work with a procedural world, and then we, like, simulate, a starting climate, and then we just let it run from there. And it just, becomes chaotic and believable. Not realistic, but believable. So if there's a big mountain, then you're usually going to get rain more on one side, or a mountain range. On one side, the back side of the mountain away from the sun is, like, less vegetative. Receives less sunlight, usually colder, I guess. Depends on your world. All that kind of shit. But yeah, also being able to say, like, oh yeah, in this area, in this cell, all of the still water would be frozen. But, like, okay, let's say it freezes over. There's a frost. And there's, like, a mountain and a valley, and then there's just flat ground over here. Everything would freeze when it gets cold enough, but then as soon as the sun rises, all of the ice and the snow should melt in the sunny areas first, but the darker areas that are in the shade should remain snowy and frozen for longer because they don't get that direct sunlight. So it would simulate that quite well. And that's like a nice touch, That, like, when you go... It could even, like... I guess it depends on how... fine. Because there's two grids. There's the coarse grid, which is a 100 by 100 meter cell size. Which is like, ambient temperature. Or, snow coverage or snow accumulation. But then there's a fine grid, which doesn't have data for every cell. And the fine grid, I think the default will be 1 by, 1 meter cell size. But it won't... It will usually just be an offset value. So if there was a campfire, and the campfire melted some snow in, like, the immediate area, it would just be, like, in only these values that are different from the average value, then we keep track of that data. So there'd be, like, 9 cells that have changed. So the changed data map would be 9 cells big. That way we don't have to have, like, 100 times 100 What's that? What's 100 times 100? 10,000? We don't have to have an array that's 10,000 entries long, full of empty data, if it's just the same as the course data. So yeah, that should be interesting. Capture light map or something? No, it'll just use probably line traces, or there'll be a data field called like terrain elevation, and it can just compute from that whether somewhere is in the shade or in the light. But yeah. You don't have to capture anything or any visuals. You can just imply a lot of information, from like line traces or math. Like, for example, if you want to know whether let's say you've got like a stealth detection system, and you want to know whether a character is in the light, in the moonlight, or near a torch, but maybe they're behind a barrel or something, so the torchlight doesn't, they're in the shadow. You don't actually have to take a photo and figure out whether they're in the shadow. You can just do a line trace from the character to the moon, and if that line trace hits anything that blocks light, then you just say, oh, yep, this character is in the shadow. Or you could do one from, the head, the shoulders, and the knees, or the feet, and do, like, multiple, and then you can get the average that way, so that, maybe their head is in the light, but the rest of their body isn't. And then you can do the same to any light source that they're within the radius of. You just do a line trace towards that light source, and then you'll know whether they're in the shadow or in the light. So yeah, with light detection, you just do a lot of just probing, and you can imply that they would be in shadow if these things were casting shadows on the GPU. Because you never really want to talk back from the GPU to the CPU. You can do it. You can do it sort of performantly with a 1-frame delay, but really recommended. And it's also not very reliable. Alright. Thumbnail. I need to do a thumbnail. What the fuggles am I doing? Let's do some colors. Had a chance to fiddle with the weather plugin, Ultra Dynamic Sky. Have any opinions, pros, cons, etc.? I haven't used it myself. I know a lot of people that have used it, that have really enjoyed using it, and then there's some other people who haven't enjoyed using it so much. What's a good color for maybe pink and yellow? I don't fucking know. Oh, that's a nice ball. Does anyone know, like, colors? Has anyone ever used colors in a game before? But yeah, I haven't used UDS myself, but it seems cool. I don't know if it's turned into like a kind of all-in-one plugin or not. Like whether it has a weather, like a weather system, weather driver system, you know. Handles puddles with dynamic puddle footsteps, sounds, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. I wonder how they do the puddle detection. I wonder if they also do like a CPU texture lookup. I want to swap them. Wait, do I? No, yeah, nah. Are they? They're not the same orient. Oh no, that's correct. Yeah. This is where the areas with spline. Right, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I think using it for the weather effects is super useful. But if I was using it, I probably wouldn't use the inbuilt, you know, weather areas and stuff, because I'd want gameplay to affect that. Or I'd want it to affect gameplay, and it's probably a bit harder to hook into it like that. I'll be right back, one sec. It just has snow, rain, water accumulation, wetness, dust, lighting, day, night, stars. Yeah, it seems very, like, feature complete. Like it doesn't have any loose ends. Which is great. That's not high contrast enough, is it? How do you think the thumbnail affects the performance of your videos? I'd say for mine, less than other content creators. Because I think a lot of my content is like, you know, it's all about the backlog of content. These need to rotate. So let me just get rid of the emissive. Alright, maybe a tiny bit. I have a very specific question for runoff/flow lines in soil using decals along a spline. I'll link to later to provide an example. Yeah, you can chuck a link in. We're just popular YouTube channels changing thumbnails daily to achieve best performance. Yeah. Or like, I think what happens in that case is you can upload 2 thumbnails, like these days, and it will send out, on the initial launch of a video, it will send half of the people one of them and half the other, and then depending on the click-through rate, it will then set the better one as the thumbnail. And it'll also change it between, like you might see the same video twice, but with different thumbnails, and that's just YouTube recommending it to you with this thumbnail, and then later on it might recommend it with this thumbnail, and then if you clicked on it the second time, then it knows, oh yeah, this other thumbnail is more performant, and then, it will algorithm from there. But yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky that my I make like 200, 250 a month from YouTube ad revenue, which is it's my videos don't need to perform well on day one because my entire channel is a backlog of, or a documentation of, a bunch of different concepts. So I don't necessarily, a lot of people view my videos by watching the backlog, not by some people obviously, new PrismaticaDev video, gonna watch it, etc. But yeah, it's not super important to squeeze every bit of engagement out for me. Because I've got the Patreon and the Patreons, so I don't really have to worry about all that stuff too much. Let me have a little geese. Gotcha. It could be. There's a couple of things it could be. It could be a flow map, which I have a video about. So the decal, if this is a decal, which it kind of looks like. Oh well, actually no. If it is a decal, you can just use the direction of the spline, to pan a texture. Yeah, you can just pan across a spline, pan in the X direction, or the Y direction of the texture, and it will just do its thing. That's a massive decal. Yeah, it could be a massive decal. The other option could be that it's a runtime virtual texture being printed to it, but it's also printing a flow direction in, you know, another channel of the RVT. And then using that to do the thing. But how'd you go about making the texture itself? By drawing it, I guess. Yeah, I'd say it's hand-painted. Or it's like a hand-painted, or maybe even a simulated erosion map that they've put into a texture or something. I'm not super-duper sure. Right, let's get this thumbnail thumbing. I think this is fine, right? I can add contrast to that, or I'll add like a little outline in Doodad. I don't really care. I'm just gonna fucking... Cool. Although I wish the fucking shading... maybe I can just turn off the cell shader. That's gonna look dumb. That looks even fucking worse. Plus, it might also depend on the slope of the ground. Yeah. Well, my other thought for doing the actual texture is they could just be using a 3D noise map and then generating normals from that 3D noise map using DDX DDY. So if you just go, you know, let me just get this thumbnail first. Can I unfuck that? Maybe it's only obvious here, isn't it? Can I just like shadow pass? Shadow pass switch, vertex, normals. Default is 1. Oh no, default is 0 actually. And then this is multiplied by -5 into the shadow pass into the WPO. And that means that when the shadows are cast, it will be a smaller ball. Let's try -10. The shadow will be smaller, but we will at least get some unfucked stuff, maybe. Okay, it only worked a little bit. It's better than nothing. Ugh, why is it so freaking ugly? Maybe I could bump the emissive slightly. Yeah, fuck it. Whatever. I really do not give a shit. Thumbnails are super dumb. Now it looks too bright. God damn. Get erosion from whale machine, etc. into a texture like that. Then I guess have water go to the lowest points or something. Yeah, you can definitely, like... There are ways to automate it. You could also do, like, PCG and generate some splines. You know? So that, you know, you can do it that way. Alright, fuck it. We take the thumbnail. I kind of want to move that tree. Yeah, much better. I also just want to... It's taking so fucking long. 0.15. Also, again, these should be switched because I've somehow fucked it up. There we go. And that should probably be grayer to match these rather than... Yeah. Color picker? Yeah, true. Maybe we'll just do it grey. That's grey AF. I could do that a contrasting color. Yellow could be nice. Maybe yellow. More of a RuneScape yellow. Like that. Yeah, I think contrasting against here. And then this kind of contrasts against all the pink and shit. Which is why I wanted this to kind of come down to there-ish. Alright, whatever. Let's do a thumbnail. Oh, the fucking clouds! Oh my god. Photography in the clouds? Fuck, don't remind me of fucking clouds. Trying to, like, shoot on a cloudy day is, like, infuriating. Alright, where is our dude? That's very large. Lord George. $50? $55? I can obviously change the colors and shit if I need. You'd click on that? Alright. At least we're... We're getting somewhere. Look at all these fucking layers everywhere. I think I'll keep that little gradient in there. Hue boost, that's a brightness contrast. Can I just like re-level you? Motherfucker, let me adjust. Where is this Why isn't it opening? Oh, it's up there. Gross. Never seen the thumbnail process? I wish I didn't have to fucking make thumbnails. This is 5-minute materials. Where the fuck is that? Alright, well, this is DDX. DDY. Or do we call it partial derivative DDX DDY? That's fucked up. What about so the maps kind of line up a bit more? Yeah, I getcha, because yeah, that should be there. Is it too late now? I don't know. I mean, it's not too late. It's just can I be bothered? I mean, it's a pretty easy. If only that. Let's wait for a nice island to appear. Nice, like... before the clouds come back. That, I reckon. There's not enough going on. Oh, that would have been good, but I missed it. There's clouds here, and then there's clouds here that I'm doing shit with. Just waiting for the perfect shot. Oh, here we go. Bam. Nice. Money. Yeah, what's the video called? DDX, DDY, D's nuts. Obviously, I make that joke in the thing. Where is 5-minute materials? There we go. I think I make that joke twice. No, why are they not linked? Yeah, 57, whatever. Alright, grab a little copy, paste it. Oh no, fuck you, B. Let's get a copy, paste, and a little... Fuck, can I even... Do you reckon I can... Fuck it, I'll just use magic selection. If I can find it. What's the goddamn... Here it is, quick selection. Yep. Zoop. Yeah. Copy, paste, select pixels, refine edge, smooth. Fuck it, good enough. Select inverse. No, not invert. I want to select inverse, delete. I want to grab this. I want to outer glow. I want to make that outer glow yellow, obviously. What else would it be? Just fucking... Just... This is how we make thumbnails here. Yeah, dank. And then... I want this one to be slightly less yellow. I think I want it to be more like that. Let's just grab that MF and chuck it in another layer. Why did you just go up? Copy, paste. No, get in. Fuck you. Shitlord. Can delete it from here. Oh, no, fuck it. Alright, image. Brightness, contrast, brightness. Contrast. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And then... Do you reckon you can make a DD's nuts joke on the thumbnail? Maybe, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll do the two thumbnails. One of them will be DDX, DDY. Or partial derivative, or screen speech partial derivatives. And then the other will be DDX, DDY, DD's nuts. And we'll see which one it chooses. How's that sound? For science. I want to merge them. Oh, but then the fucking... Can I merge? Let me just put the effects up here for a sec. Merge these together. Merge. Chuck the effect back on. Get these. Filter. Sharpen. Looks really good. Love that sharpening. I might also just hue shift it slightly. No, I can't really do that with this one. I just wish that had... Actually, no, I can just add a layer on top. Give it a tiny tickle. Oh, well, that's going to go... Let's go select pixels. There we go. That's a bit better. Just voop. Just chuck that fucking purple on there. Why not? Maybe a bit pinker. Sick. And then let's give that a little bit of shading. Bit of actual gradation. Why is that not... Oh, opacity's at tiny baby number. There we go. And then maybe a bit of shwoop-de-doop up there. Zoop. Give it a little tickle. Bit of lens flare, you know. Do I want to do an arrow? Like that? Like this from that? Pardon me. I might even just chuck a contrast on that. Just swoop it up a bit, you know. Yeah, fuck it. Height to normal. Yeah, actually, that's a very good. Good point. Yeah, height to normal. Or procedural normals. Yeah. Everyone loves procedural things. Procedural things go hard. Everyone loves clicking on procedural. Oh, procedural animation. Oh, your game has procedural animation. Oh. Oh my god. Procedural. These nuts. Why am I bleeding? God, it's 4 a.m. What the fuck? I can't wait to eat corn chips and hummus after this stream. Procedural normals? What the fuck? Procedural normals. Maybe it doesn't need 5-minute materials down here using DDX. DDX plus DDY. You know? Yeah, that's a good point. Use an ampersand. Of course. Although in this font, it looks a bit... Maybe it's a bit... Maybe double slash. Maybe hyphen is... Is it actually adding them though? We're appending them. Which is kind of adding. I could just write and. No, this is the font. It's just the RuneScape font. Yeah, that's a good point. I can chuck a little just a little schmooch. Just a drop shadow behind it. Yeah. Who made all this awesome RuneScape adjacent music? This is all actually just the RuneScape soundtrack. It's just the MIDI files from old school RuneScape. All right, let's just roll with that for now. It's fine. I can fuck with it. Although I might just... Hold on, I just want to... I feel like we need more of this blue somewhere. That normal map blue. Where the fuck is this layer living? Here. Your top layer. Let's just go new layer. We'll just smack a little swing of color. Can I? How do I fucking eye drop? Where's? There it is. Yeah. We'll just swung a little swibbly doo. And set that to color. Hue. Go back. Go back. Go back. Thank you. Hue. Bit bluer. I just need like a little bit of that somewhere, you know? Like a... Just a tiny bit. Maybe up here. Maybe down here. Probably down here. And then I might turn that green bit blue. Yeah. Graphic design is my passion. Procedural normals using DDX, DDY. I might even just fucking yeet the, Just get rid of that green. Oh, fuck. I need to... Select pixels and then just mode, color, fucking this one. Just like, just. Just blew it up a tiny bit. Looks more like a normal map. Maybe let's get a little bit of that green in there, you know, somewhere. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, now we're just... Now we're in fucking Rainbow Land. Oh, yeah. Just, yeah, woof, woof. Just whoop it. Just zoop. Zoop. I could even do color... Oh, no, okay, no, you know, I'll stick with hue. Yeah, cool. How do we feel about indie devs using AI to generate textures? I think as long as AI has ethical training data... Oh, wait, did I just fucking... Okay. Jeez, I nearly just exported that. As long as the training data is ethically sourced... this is thumb ddx.png. Then I've got, like, literally no problem with AI. You know, even if it takes people's jobs or whatever, it's like, okay, well, like, you know, Adapt! Adapt! It's just technology, you know? You gotta adapt and overcome. The cat is out of the bag, exactly. Well, yeah, I think there should be crackdowns on the sourcing. But I think the tech itself is like, you know, not going anywhere. And I think it should be embraced. Ethical is I'm finding the stealing from large corporations. I mean, yeah, me too. But unfortunately, because the large corporations steal everyone else's data, it's kind of like secondhand thievery, you know? It's like, is it ethical to steal bread from someone that stole bread? You know? Because, like, you're stealing from a criminal, but, like, you know what I mean? They're getting what they deserve, but someone has still had bread stolen from them that was rightfully theirs. I feel like the same is going to go for, you know, AI and shit. Stealing is fun and good. I wouldn't know. I've never stolen anything. I've never pirated a particular copy of Photoshop from 2015. Generated normals? Or just height map to normals. I guess that can be our B one, our B movie. DDX DDY2. Lawful neutral versus chaotic neutral. Yeah. Not a fan of the GPU situated with generating more frames. I think frame generation as a technology, you know, not as a crutch, but as the icing on the cake, is like hella fucking good. It's sort of the same argument with, like, you know, back when people started, you know, using, like, what, oh, you can record music to a computer now instead of to tape or direct to vinyl. Like, that's cheating, and it, like, sucks the soul out of the music and shit. It's like, shut the fuck up. No, it doesn't. It's like, it's the exact same thing, a different format. It's like, you know, again, adapt. But I think, yeah, frame gen and upscaling and all that is like, there's still no, like, yeah, okay, you can if we're going on audio analogies, you can get someone in, you can record them, they can be absolutely garbage shit, and you're going to have to go through, you're going to have to quantize, you know, timing, pitch, do all of these edits and shit. There's going to be, like, artifacting that you literally can't avoid. And so the same applies to games. If the game runs like shit in the first place, then You know, like input lag is going to be higher. The fidelity of the upscaling and the frame generation is going to be worse because it's got less data to go off. So there's going to be, like, you know, lots of... the game still has to run well. There are going to be things that aren't polishable using AI. Community needs to keep going up, I should say, and it seems like not NVIDIA's main priority. Yeah, I think NVIDIA is moving definitely towards more AI shit. Or, like, catering to AI. Because, like, you know, AI is, like, a booming technology, and if you're not capitalizing on AI... Like, yeah, sure, there's a bunch of companies trying to use AI to do a bunch of shit and to create, like, virtual assistants that just don't work and whatever. But if you can get in between them, you know, and supply GPUs to these people that are doing AI shit, it doesn't matter if those AI businesses or whatever flop, you've sold them GPUs. You've already made the money. So I think it's like a no-brainer for them to focus in on that. It's kind of like, it's like doing Unreal Engine educational content instead of making a game, you know? Like, there's all these hopeful game developers that, like, they want to make the game that changes the world. And, like, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But either way, I make money. Because I'm in between. I'm the in-between man. I think being, like, the in-between for any kind of, you know, supply and demand or technology or, you know, hobby, I guess. There's less chance of you know, going viral, or there's no chance of you going viral and your game selling 1 million copies, but you also can't go, like, broke either, because there's always people wanting to learn how to make games. And so I always have a place, you know. So that's kind of what NVIDIA's doing. Is just jumping in between, you know, the AI bros and supplying them hardware. Whether or not they succeed or not doesn't matter to them. Doesn't make games, so I have fun games to play. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's same with me. I just want to make not even games, just like interesting software things. You know? Things that make people think like, oh, like, that's so cool. Or like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Or I can't believe they thought of this. That's what I want to do. What do they call it? What was SimCity or like the Sims 1 called? Like a software toy? Instead of a game? That's what my aim is. It's to make software toys rather than games. Or make a game hiding within a software toy. When Jensen walks on stage in anything but a leather jacket? True. True. Grumple Stillskin. I had a question about animations UE, OSC keyframes storing translation, rotation, and scale, but I never changed translation or scale of my character bones. Is ways of performance calculating scale translation for each bone every frame? No, it shouldn't be, because the animations will be getting compressed, which, if the... at least my small brain understanding is that, or how I would do it if I was smart and in charge of these kind of things, is like, let's say you had a value, like the scale value was just 1 the entire time. I would just say instead of storing that every single frame, I would just say from frame 0 to frame 100, the value is 1. Instead of storing 100 frames for every bone for that value. So I'm guessing it does something like that to prevent it from, like, re-evaluating the scale and translation for every bone, every frame. It would probably just update it when they change. When the value changes. Otherwise, it would just be cached and that kind of thing. I mean, like, it kind of needs to... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would even save performance by not... Because I know that the animation compression saves on space, because you're not storing all those values. You're just storing, like, you know, a start and a stop value. Like sparse data storage or some shit. Same with, like, how they do sparse volumetric SVD, sparse volumetric data, sparse volumetric text, SVT, sparse volume texture, I think, where it doesn't have to store every single voxel if heaps of the voxels are the same value. It can just say, oh yeah, from here to here, they're all the same value. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Journey's more important than the finish line. To me, almost don't want to finish projects because then I have to start anew. True. True. My next GPU will probably be Intel's, except if by then something revolutionary is AMD or Nvidia. Yeah. I've been interested in the AMD GPUs and stuff. Especially since they seem to be kind of more gamer, you know, gamer oriented, focused. So hopefully they kind of pick up where Nvidia are dropping off. What are your thoughts on Houdini? I haven't used it. I've never used it. I've never actually seen the interface for it. I've seen, like, stuff that people do in Houdini, but I don't actually know how it gets to that point. And I also know that it can be a bit of a pain in the ass to, like, bridge between Houdini and Unreal. Which is, I guess, why they made PCG framework in Unreal. Was to kind of, you know, cut out that middleman and whatnot. I'll have some AI governments to do local image classification on my photos. Having a Google Photos style search on my own local storage will be grand and is possible with some tools. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like the yeah, on Apple Photos. What are they fucking called? iPhotos? I can just search up cat and I get like 870 cat photos that I've taken. And it's so good. It's so good. Gilleston or Gilleston? Watch your videos on physics animation. Great stuff. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank you very much for the Prime sub. Absolute legend. Absolute ledge. I'm going to be doing a new video on physics animation using physics control in the distant future. I mean, I'll probably maybe sooner rather than later. Because you know how I'm doing that physical movement system? The way that will, you know, like let's say we've got a character pulling stuff around, I'll probably use physics control for that to do the, you know, the target will be, I don't know how I'll keep the capsule, I don't know. Yeah, it's, yeah. This is my next game, which I'll start in 6 months. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Good timing. Use physics control a lot of my current project rules. It is a lot more comprehensive than the old system. Like, just being able to set the strength of an individual chain compared to the others. Like, you couldn't even do that in the old system. You could set a profile, which would be a multiplier for, you know, given bone chains and whatnot. But you couldn't, you would have to set up a profile for, like, left arm limp, right arm limp, left leg limp, right leg limp, left arm and right arm limp, left arm and right arm and left leg limp, but keep the, like, it's just, yeah, very brute force, whereas the new physics control, yeah, like you said, you can control different sets. And you can also, like, set individual sets to be local or worlds, or, like, you know, angular or translational. So you can set the hands to be translational, you know, so they go towards IK targets and stuff. But then the rest of the things to be angular. So that, like, if a character ragdolls, you want them to be angular rather than translational. Because, you know, you want to be able to animate, like, a character writhing around on the ground, but you don't want them to be sitting up in that position, like, to be pulled towards that position. You want them to be doing that, given their, you know, their local, or the bones local stuff. That's exactly how I mean. Yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Do you use the center Unreal Blender plugin at all? No, I don't. I do everything. I have a system. I have some, yeah, like a folder called exports, and then that gets imported, and then if I ever want to change the mesh, I go into the session, re-export it to that same path, and then click re-import, and it will, you know, schlup it in. Just schlup it all in. Did you make a video about finding game idea? Maybe? I don't know. I feel like I have terrible ideas. I feel like my ideas are like fucking... like actual crazy person ideas, which aren't feasible. You know? So I'm probably like the last person you want to ask about game ideas. I think a good way to find game ideas, or at least to kind of analyze games, is to think about your favorite game, you know, favorite game of all time, or like your top 10 favorite games, and then pick out things about those games that you don't like or that you think could be better, you know? And then you'll start to get an idea of like, oh, what if it was like this game, but it didn't suck in this regard? Had dinosaurs that struggle on the ground, they can even bite you, but it's all angular translation, get set to almost 0. Yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense. Also, Toxic, thank you very much for the gifted 1-month tier 1 sub to Corrado. Congrats, congrats. Yeah, something I do, Grumple, that you might... I mean, you probably do this as well, but... if you get the rotation of the pelvis... something I do with, like, you know, humanoid characters is, depending on the rotation of the pelvis, there's a blend space called, you know, ragdoll self-preservation blend space. And so if the character is falling this way, they'll put their hand out, or if they're falling forward, they'll put their hands out like this, or if they're falling backwards, they'll, like, stick their elbows out and whatnot. And so then it actually looks like they're trying to stop themselves from eating shit. And then I was planning on, which this is a bit crazy, but if there's a downed character, to actually make them physically, you know, play like a crawling or like a backwards crawling animation that's physically simulated. So, just some dumb ideas, you know? Dumb ideas. But... yeah. The other option would be... I guess if a character is prone, or is crawling, but they're in full control, I could use the physical movement system, but just turn them into a quadruped, so they turn into like a little car. Like, fuck, it would look like Get to Work. You know that Rage game? Where you're like the man on roller skates? You'd look like this. It would pretty much be this. So there'd be a ball here, and a ball behind, and it would self-balance like the physical movement system does. But that's what crawling would look like when the character's like in control. Yo, Krim, what's up? Have you tried Blender animation action slots? I haven't. I haven't done any Blender animation in like years. I've been using Cascadeur for animations, which is Pog. Cascadeur's a banger. And it's perpetually licensed, and there's a free trial, blah, blah, blah. Samay, I'm spawning actors using PCG. What is required from me that is distant actors should have very 2D or very low LED versions, and as I get closer, they should appear in higher quality. How can I do that? Look at, they are called imposters. So you can generate imposter materials for like trees and stuff. And yeah, they're just like 2D planes that have a texture. Otherwise, you could just make an LOD manually for, you know, the distant objects, and you can give LODs a separate material. So when you go into the static mesh editor, you can go to LODs and then add an LOD slot and give it a different material. So when it's at LOD 5, it then switches to this material, which is just a picture of the thing that you want. Design school, and the method was, what would a game about X look like where X is a verb? For example, Mario's game about jumping. Yeah, true. That's a good way of putting it. To generate some ideas. It's kind of how I thought of my game, John Wick Hex, if it wasn't a strategy style game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's this, but this. It's X, but Y. You know? It's Xanima, but it's not janky as fuck. How about a ball on the end of every limb? Kind of. Yeah, I think on every limb, it wouldn't really make sense. It's a game, but shit. Someone start calculating to be powered to just we got 10 FPS instantly. Hell yeah, nice. Yeah, I think disabling WPO is like super important, especially since you know, because there's a pixel pre-pass or you know, an opacity mask pre-pass, whatever, where you know, you never compute the pixel shader instructions for surfaces that you don't see. So like, you know, I've got a building and like the tiniest little bit of this building is poking out from behind another one. I'm only going to pixel shade those pixels. Whereas with vertex shader stuff, if any of the mesh is visible, you're computing every vertex, like, regardless. You can't do vertex culling, at least not efficiently. So yeah, for things like tiny little bushes or trees where you just see the tippy tops of them, it can be really handy to disable that. I wish someone, if anyone smart is in the chat and wants to earn $100, an automatic LOD switch node in materials, where it goes through, and if there's an LOD switch, it will compute, you know, a separate shader that automatically gets applied to those LODs or anything at that LOD level, so that you can be like, okay, at LOD 2, disable the intense rain effect that's, you know, eats up fucking 1 million FPS on distant objects. Or like in my case with Prismatiscape, be like, oh, at I don't know, whatever fucking distance, at whatever distance, stop sampling the simulation render targets, you know, save a bit of juice there. Because you can do it with we do the NPC and blueprints. Well, no, because even if you multiply something by 0 in an NPC, it's still going to be computing everything before that multiply by 0 or that turn off. And you can't do static switches in an NPC. So where would you calculate that? So So something you can do in Unreal. NPC can't drive bulls. Well, I mean, it can by just, you know, doing a float value, but you can't change a static switch at runtime. And you can't branch a shader. You can't just be like, shader, only do this and don't do that. Even a switch param. Or like a static switch param, you can only toggle in editor. Because what it's doing is, if you have a material instance that has a static switch parameter, when you tick that, it's compiling a completely different shader. Because GPUs are dumb as fuck. So you have to, like, essentially duplicate the shader, but just remove the part that is on the other side of the switch. And then when the switch isn't there, you've compiled a completely separate shader that has that thing included. And so what you can do is put in a bunch of switches and shit, and then in the mesh LODs, you can have a material instance that then turns the switch off, and you can put that in, you know, LOD 4 and below. But, like, why can't we just do that, like... Why can't we just do that automatically? Because, yeah, like, the engine does compile, you know, when you do the RVT output, you know, stuff. It compiles a separate shader that gets applied when the RVT does its scene capture. So you can compile multiple shaders from the same material graph. So why can't we just, like, have an LOD switch where, yeah, it will pre-compute different versions of the shader, but it will automatically apply it to, you know, if this mesh is at LOD number 3, then you know, swap it out for this shader. Not even the culling logic. It's something you can already do, but you have to manually do it with, like, 4 different... If you wanted, like, an LOD 0, 1, 2, and 3 of the material, you could do that with, you know, static switches, or, like, you know, static switch after static switch after static switch. You could then make 4 material instances and tick the static switch, tick the static switch, tick the static switch, go into the static mesh editor and apply those material instances to the different LODs of the mesh. And then, you know, then we've got the full detail material here, and then at, you know, at LOD 1, we turn off parallax occlusion mapping, and then at number 2, we turn off the rain spattering effect, and then at this one, we turn off, I don't know, some other fucking thing. Positive with HLSL. Yeah, you can do branching in like true branching on the GPU, but it's like, it's usually more expensive than just computing everything anyway. There is some crossover point. So, like, doing branching is, like, expensive upfront cost, but you can save some stuff. So if the thing that you're doing is, like, a quadrillion instructions and you have a branch, then maybe you would save some juice. But the most performant thing to do is to compile a separate shader that doesn't do that stuff in the first place and just swap it out. Which, again, is something that you can do with a lot of effort, because they allow they allow you to swap out materials on certain LOD levels of meshes. And you can do switches that compile different shaders. So it would just be nice if there was an automated way to do that. So I just shove preprocessor macros onto a shader compiler, which is why all bools are static params in UA materials. Yeah, exactly. It'd be nice if it could automatically do that, and you wouldn't have to go into like literally every mesh and set and make a material instance child of every material that you're using. Because it's just like, I don't know. It's a fucking nightmare. Like, yeah, imagine like with my ocean shader, if it was just simple to just have a little, an LOD switch and just be like, oh yeah, past LOD 3, don't generate the four, you know, smallest wavelengths of the Gerstner waves. Like, just ignore that. Instead of having to manually do that. And it's also like, okay, let's say like, let's run with that example. Let's say I have that tessellated plane or that subdivided plane that I use for the ocean, but I'm also using it for a bunch of other shit. I have to hard code, you know, a material and then the LOD materials to that thing. I don't know if you can set, I guess you can set slots. You can set material by slot index. And the LOD material has its own slot index. So no, it is possible to do it at runtime if you've got the thingos. Material layer attributes. I don't know if that would... I don't think that stops computation. I think, again, it's more of a static thing. Like, you can swap things in and out. Yeah, it's kind of just like being able to have a material function that you can change. You can't change it at runtime. It's for you to like kind of compile and composite in editor just to make things easier. So you might have like a rusted metal shader that you've set up and it looks really cool, and so you can just like splat that on. But it will still have to be compiled into that shader. Yeah, no runtime. Or, like, no runtime swapping of the actual layers. Epic employees taking notes on work. No. I think every like, Epic employee that I've, like, talked to no longer works there. They got culled. Or they left, or something, I don't know. But yeah, I wonder how... it would probably be a big pain in the ass to do an LOD switch. What was the new idea just joined? I don't know. We were doing the climate simulation grid stuff. the render target, grid, climate simulation, doobly doobly. Yeah. But I didn't get very far. I didn't get very far. Yeah. Anyway, I think we're gonna raid out. Does anyone have any suggestions? Any Unreal developers? Anyone wants to raid? How do we... Software and game development. Who did I raid last? I raided Fractal Grove last time. Raid Hillfort Games. Let's do that. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out. Look, we didn't get much done today, but I just need to think. I need to do brain stuff and think about how this is actually going to work and whatnot. The kind of hierarchy of how shit works. And then I think I'll stream again tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a bit more of an idea of what we're doing. But yeah, we'll get decently far with this system, and then we'll either go back to ocean shit or physical character movement shit, and would probably just rotate around them for a while. So yeah, it should be fun. So anyway, thanks for watching, and with that, I go to eat Doritos and hummus. So, goodbye. Goodbye.